So it's 2026, jumping right on into another year of podcast episodes with the Soulful Side of Life with me, Portee. I hope you're well. Welcome to another episode. I hope it's not too cold where you are, but maybe you're in South Africa where it's full on summer. So nice. Anyways, welcome to this episode with Svenja Maltzahn. She is originally from Germany, and she is the queen of LinkedIn. Companies have flown her out to Eurasia, to Washington, D.C., to Riyadh to work on their communication strategy, specifically strategic communications when it comes to their LinkedIn strategy, because Svenja knows this area and she knows what she's doing, and companies want the best of the best, and she's the best of the best. She is based in Dubai, and I have had the honor of briefly interviewing her before for my online magazine, Zayla. I have covered her, a client of hers before. But yeah, a little bit about Svenja. Again, she's an expert at all things LinkedIn. And most importantly, she is gifted at empowering organizations globally to build successful digital footprints and helping individuals craft compelling personal brands. And she's also the founder of Sumaya Social. It's a full-service LinkedIn agency that's based in Dubai. So I pick her brain about all things LinkedIn for 2026 and how we should be thinking to use this platform. And her answer is, it's not like surprising. I think if you follow social media trends, you're not going to be surprised at her answer. But if you don't follow social media trends, you may be surprised by her thoughts and advice on how we should be engaging with LinkedIn as well as other social platforms. So enjoy this podcast episode with Svenja. I hope that you take away her wisdom nuggets, and I'll also include in the description her social profile so you can connect with her directly if you're needing to beef up your LinkedIn profile. So enjoy. So Svenja, thank you so much for taking the time to join the podcast.
Thank you for having me again. It's really great.
It's really an honor because you are like the LinkedIn queen.
That's too kind. Thank you. Just
It's
trying,
so many people see you as an expert in this space. And before diving into talking all things LinkedIn for 2026, I'm curious, what was little girl Svenja like?
Little girl Svenja was really shy / sensitive. Yeah, I think I was always extremely empathetic and had a good feeling for situations and people, which can be a vulnerability, but it can also definitely be a strength, I guess, when it comes to writing, working with people. So, yeah, I feel the little Svenja is still very much in me, but much more confident in using that kind of strength.
Yeah. And you're German, and I lived for 3 years in Berlin, and I feel that like Germans aren't the best, I feel, with like public relations and promoting things.
Yeah.
So how did that become an area you found yourself in? You did PR for governments. How did you find that was for you being German?
I mean, look, when you grow up, when you go to school, or even when you are at university, I didn't know that PR was a thing. It was maybe in my master studies only. So I think what I heard about or what I saw in Hollywood movies was like lobbying, but I mean, that's not PR, right? So it took me a long time, maybe until I was 23 in my master studies in the UK to learn that PR even existed. And then I was just like, oh my God, I think this is really interesting for me. And I mean, I studied Arabic and counterterrorism, which is not PR, right?
Yeah.
But then I ended up doing government communications campaigns, and all our lecturers were from the marketing field, marketing space, or vice versa. I mean, in government communications, even military, you need strategic communications that is not salesy. So I kind of found the perfect spot for me in communications that has an impact, yet is not salesy. And that is still the place that I prefer to stay in.
Yeah. So when you were in London studying, you were studying Arabic and
Yeah.
you weren't studying communications or
So I was studying Arabic for 5 years as my main language, and
okay.
second language was Turkish. And then I was surprisingly good at it. So the German government awarded me a full scholarship to then study in London a second master in counterterrorism, war studies. And counterterrorism is essentially communications, soft power, soft skills, behavior change, history, a bunch of very interesting topics, which then led me to the field of strategic communications, which is essentially government communications.
Was it your plan to go work in Berlin after your master's?
No, I really don't think so. I actually never worked in Germany.
Oh,
So
wow.
after my master's in London, I started working in London in also government communications for the UK government. And I just never felt the pace or the culture was exciting me in Germany. I think Germans, they really love to play it safe,
Mm,
especially in government communications. There is no such thing as more, creative marketing type comms as the UK is, for example, really advanced at.
sure. Wow. Do you feel that at some time in your future you would want to work in government specifically or
Hmm.
go in the military?
No, it's not what interests me. I'm perfect as an entrepreneur. It really suits me. I love the fast pace. I am not a big fan of, traditional ways of working. And I mean, this is the worst part of government communications, right? It's so bureaucratic. Processes take so long. And no, I could not imagine ever leaving entrepreneurship for myself or also actually returning back to Germany. I'm kind of done with that chapter.
Gotcha. So how does a girl from Germany get from Germany to Dubai doing strategic communications?
So I was working in London, and
Yeah.
my second job there was actually in a small boutique consultancy that only did Saudi government comms. And they were working for every single ministry, every interesting entity, and they were pretty small, super smart, hardworking, mostly former politicians, UK politicians. And I was fascinated by the type of work and especially the level of the colleagues. They are much, much, much senior. I think I was probably the youngest employee they have ever hired. And I mean, the headquarter was in the UK, but I used to travel to Saudi every other week. I was spending a lot of time there and all my clients were there. So at some point, they asked me if I want to relocate to Dubai, where they have their biggest office now. And I was, after 5 years in London, I was ready for some sunshine
Yes.
and just took the leap. Yeah.
Yeah. In those days that you were going to Saudi, it was before Saudi opened up, I imagine.
Yeah.
So how would you compare Saudi then to Saudi now?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the changes are there. Women can walk around. We don't have to wear the abaya anymore. There are so many cultural events, festivals. However, even back then, the Saudis that I've met, most of them in the capital and in Jeddah, they were so international. They were, they all studied abroad in the US, UK, or France. They all had in common that they went to, Tomorrowland or some techno festivals, and it was like They were surprisingly open, but of course there always is that separation between how you kind of have the split of what you do on the outside, like between private life and outside life. There was a strict separation, which I think Saudis still value very much today.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so all things LinkedIn, how did you go from your government consultancy job to being a LinkedIn expert?
Yeah, it was such a luck, I think. So when I worked because I was one of the youngest consultant in the Saudi government consultancy, I was naturally the one who did the social media. Twitter was the channel back then, X. And I mean, I never used Twitter, but then suddenly I was running all these Twitter accounts for different entities. And I liked it. I like writing. But then what we also saw was that even though some ministers or entities had a much smaller following on LinkedIn, and we were just kind of repurposing the same content from Twitter to LinkedIn, that the impact of the LinkedIn post was much larger, was huge. Relevant audiences, no spam, less hate speech. I mean, the top professional audiences. And yeah, it kind of shifted then from being a completely kind of secondary platform to being recognized as a very valuable communications tool. And I kind of saw that opportunity pretty early on. And in the agency world, then I was doing most of the LinkedIn. I kind of became the LinkedIn person in Burson, Hill & Knowlton, now Burson, one of the big PR agencies that I switched to. And I loved the role. I was kind of the LinkedIn specialist for like the MENA region and all the government and bigger corporate clients. But it was mostly the company pages. And then again, I saw, okay, people don't really want to follow the company pages unless it's maybe for job applying. They want to follow the faces of the organization. They want to follow the CEO, maybe the head of investment, depending on the type of organization. They want to hear from the experts. And I mean, this really goes to the point of how LinkedIn sees itself. It's an expert social media platform. So it's also the users, they really want to follow experts and see expert content, not viral content. That people don't go on LinkedIn because they want to be entertained, right? Or inspired or see aesthetic feeds. They really want kind of the raw, unfiltered expert content. And most experts, they just don't have the time or the knowledge to communicate that. So I was like, okay, that needs to go faster. I cannot wait, for big agency contracts to change. Let me start my own agency and just go for it. And of course, it's much smaller kind of scopes and contracts when you do work for individuals who pay from their own pocket. But the impact is just so undeniable. I mean, also the data shows that if you have a company page and you post on the company page and the same on the leaders, like personal page, it will get 8 times higher engagement. So, for me, it was a no-brainer that I want to pursue that direction and really help experts to communicate more compellingly, more clearly. And I started to notice a lot of patterns of what works, kind of have my rule book of how to write on LinkedIn. And this has been now almost 4 years that I've been refining it and working in the space, which is actually a long time given the fact that LinkedIn is just really getting a lot of attention since this year almost.
Yeah.
And people recognize it as a personal branding platform. So yeah, that's how I kind of started to just create my own agency.
I feel like LinkedIn was quite popular 5+ years ago. And then I feel it kind of just was like blah.
Hmm.
And people used it, but I didn't feel like the buzz was there the way it was when I graduated with my
Yeah.
master. Why do you think that it got some attention in 2025?
I think it's mostly due to the decline of Twitter and X,
Mm,
because that was kind of the space for professional updates, not just in terms of honor to start a new role, but to, talk about the professional space or what's happening in the economy or in the industry. But then Twitter became so overly hateful, and fake news played a role, spam played a role, and it was just really becoming less enjoyable to be on the platform for most users. So suddenly there's this huge gap of, okay, we have Instagram for inspiration, entertainment. We have TikTok as well for a lot of fast-paced entertainment, but where do the professional / expert conversations, informational, happening now? Not on the other platforms. So that was the big opportunity that I think LinkedIn was actually lucky enough to fill this space.
Yeah, there's over 1 billion worldwide users on LinkedIn. How or just why is that important for businesses to engage in this way with this platform?
Yeah, I think, the user base is even growing. A lot of countries, especially in like Asia, they are not using it yet. So it's just a matter of time for me that the user base will grow. But it's less about the volume of people, it's more about the quality of people. We have less young people, the students and the non-decision makers, they are usually not on the platform. So it is really the age average between maybe 25 to 45. So it is a smaller demographic, and they all have certain educational background, I would assume, or I do see. So suddenly we have hyper-targeted platform for relevant audiences. So with little effort, and little effort, I mean, the bar is not as high as for Instagram or TikTok to create content on LinkedIn. It's the written word, pretty much. It's really text first. You don't need a lot other than an idea and then writing it down. So yeah, for me, this is why LinkedIn really is so interesting, especially for experts to kind of get recognized without having to go out of their way or hire a production agency to create content or become something like an influencer.
Yeah. What's the most effective way to be using LinkedIn in 2026, aside from just posting I got a new job or anybody hiring?
Mm.
What's the effective way?
So I think now we kind of reached a point where people are kind of fatigued with LinkedIn because everyone is just using AI. Whereas in 2024 and 2025 early on, you could still get away with it. Now it's just, a lot of AI content and little original thoughts / opinions. So a lot of users on the platform get exhausted and they feel it kind of cringe now. But I would actually say this is exactly where the opportunity is, right? Less polished, less perfect, less AI LinkedIn content, and really going back to the roots of what is my opinion here? What is the unique experience I can share in the professional-ish context, more or less? And, this will never get old. Another example, what I see now is that, anyone can design a visual with AI. It takes literally zero skill. So that means we shouldn't do that, right? We always want to do something a little different. And what I predict is becoming really effective now is super raw, unfiltered expert content. I mean, we see the same on TikTok and other channels, right? The direction is always raw, unfiltered, unplanned, spontaneous. Same on LinkedIn, but in the expert context. So this means maybe taking your pen, drawing a chart or a small diagram, super simple. Take a picture of that with your iPhone and upload it. One of my clients from NASA did this last week, and it was his most viral post.
Wow.
Could also be, if you have a whiteboard. And of course, it really depends on your industry, if that's just not relevant to what you do. Like if you're a soil scientist and you never touch a pen, I don't know, then do something in the field, and kind of finding that spontaneous, unfiltered content that is really authentic and that is not something that I could just copy paste and also post on my own page. For example, all these leadership quotes. Leadership means this, not that. It's something anyone could post and with little value. So less is more, less volume as well. And to really ask yourself, what are some of the unique beliefs that I hold? And how can I share this in a simple way that is social media friendly / skimmable? Because at the end of the day, LinkedIn still is a social media platform.
Yeah. That it's interesting. I feel like even with YouTube the last years, it's just been waning with having that overproduced, glossy,
Yeah.
edited video, cinematic. The numbers of content creators have risen when it's been that raw, simple video, and it seems like maybe that's the trend for maybe all of social media. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
extreme to say all, but and it seems like I was listening to this girl who does you like kind of what you do, but for YouTube content, and she was saying for sure 2026 is about the simple, low edited
Yeah.
content and just giving expertise. That's what I think, the world is tired of the fake and people just want real, cut to the chase.
Yeah.
This is the answer.
Mm.
So yeah, I think it will be interesting to see what the year gives with social media and giving these real content. I had a chat with a Dubai-based consultant for like my baby, my little online Zayla magazine, and
Yeah.
she was wanting to suggest using a AI influencer for the Instagram page, and it just didn't feel right. I'm
No.
not up on social media trends, but it seems like what you're saying, not using that AI kind of content.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do you. Set up a camera in your
One.
home, make sure the lighting is good, and talk.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, of course, let's say you are in crypto or in tech, maybe then having an AI avatar or something like that can be a thing. But I would say this really is the exception. And I mean, it's also so easy to create, right? It requires zero skill. And there are no shortcuts to success on social media or, I mean, in life in general, right? And
Yeah.
just thinking that, oh, this sounds good. This sounds better than what I could have written. This is possible. It's not good enough.
Yeah.
We want people to connect with us. So we also have to do our part.
Yeah. And I think probably having some well thought out hooks and maybe
Yeah.
planning those hooks can be quite useful.
Yeah. I mean, also just, consuming social content and observing yourself, like what resonates with me, what do I like, what do I dislike. That is part of the learning journey for sure.
Yeah.
And just really having clarity on what you want to say before you write.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of the time we just write for the sake of it, but then it's like, okay, but what do we actually want to say here? And, one thing that I always say is, could this post have the potential for my colleague to stop me in the hallway and to say, wow, I really liked your post, this really made me think. And if the answer is yes, then that's great, but like the ideal post should really make people reach out to you in person, maybe on WhatsApp, and say, wow, such an interesting perspective.
For sure. So when you start working with or what kind of clients do you work with and what's your process of working with them? I imagine you do it with via Zoom or you only do Dubai-based
Yeah.
clients or
So actually now, because I do quite a few events in the US, I have quite a few US clients. It is worldwide. Of course, Dubai and Saudi are where my network is. And the typical client is usually a founder, an expert of any kind, from soil scientist to Oracle Cloud technologist to hydration pill producers. It varies. It doesn't really matter because, I mean, they are all experts of their field, and I never aim to be that or to get to that level of expertise that they have. But what they really benefit from is that clarity and communicating it clear and compelling, skimmable, on brand, consistently on LinkedIn. So yeah, working together is creating a small strategy right at the beginning and then jumping straight into posting twice per week. And we create the full content for them. I do have a team of designers, copywriters, social media experts who I have trained carefully over the past couple of months. So we do have a WhatsApp chat and we just have our day-to-day communications there, create the content for them. And usually they post it themselves just to make sure that they still have visibility on what's going out. And yeah, also there's no risk really on their side.
Yeah. A couple of last questions. So I interviewed last year a guy that you worked with in your Dubai, one of the Dubai agencies you worked in. Well, it was Simon Buckby. And
Oh, of course.
yeah,
Yes.
and now he's in Bangkok
Yeah.
working. And I asked him, what is the best emerging market to work in? So for you, the question is, what for 2026, what's the best emerging market in the LinkedIn space to work in your opinion?
So for people who want to do their own LinkedIn agency, kind of.
Yes, and I mean, also for people who are wanting to just share content and be effective at it,
Mm.
what's one of the best markets? Is it Asia because it's not really been tapped into with LinkedIn?
Location wise, I see. My sense is that Asia is a bit too early on.
Okay.
It's just, I think it will take a few more years. The best market, location wise, it's a tough one, because I think there are only so many clients you can serve in reality, right?
Yeah.
And if you have maybe 20 clients, that's more than enough for any agency, really. So any market needs it. For me, I really love the US market
Mm,
because they are very professional and the experience with my US clients so far has been great. Very appreciative,
mm,
understanding, less kind of scope creep. And, the last thing you want when you do have a personal branding client is someone who's just, you know, not trusting you and questioning everything and kind of crossing the lines of what's professional and what's not. So the US is a good market because also they like to pay. They do see the value in it. Whereas
yeah.
I think even in the Middle East, you still really have to do a lot of convincing for people to understand that
Mhm.
this is not a nice to have money that goes out the window, but that there's actually a return on investment.
Of course.
Mm.
Would you say that for the Middle East, it's that way even for Western-led companies?
Yeah, I would say the willingness to pay and to really see it as an investment is still very low. In the
I
Middle East,
see.
people would still rather pay to be featured in a news outlet that nobody reads
I
than a
see.
LinkedIn.
I see. And would you say the same for Europe as you've spoken of the US?
Europe is good also. I think the US is
Okay.
at the top, then Europe, then Middle
Okay.
East in terms of awareness of how important the topic is. To be fair, Germany is one of probably the most advanced country when it comes to corporate influence,
Mm,
meaning employer branding and having experts of corporations to talk on LinkedIn, which
gotcha.
really surprised me. There are even corporate influence conferences, corporate influencers. Deloitte has a huge corporate influencer in Germany. So the awareness for companies is 100% there.
Okay. That's good.
Mm,
Last question. Who is somebody on LinkedIn that inspires you and how they use the platform?
yeah. Okay, this is a very random one. And I don't want to say his name wrong. And you will be shocked when you actually go to his profile. His name is Richard Cook. And
Okay.
is the social media lead at Monzo, the digital bank in the UK. And
Okay.
I've been following him since day one. And I think he lost a lot of followers because his level of sarcasm is just going too far. But he really has a taste. His content is so clearly not AI generated. There is very strong sentiment and opinion behind, sarcasm through the roof.
Okay.
But I really can't stop laughing when I look at his captions.
I'm going
Not that
to. Is it this the correct one?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Who says, I mean, he's in a very senior position, right? And he says
Yeah.
in capital, not interested in anything crypto or AI, thanks. It's just so funny because he really captures what is happening on LinkedIn and what a lot of people are frustrated with. And at first glance, can come across as someone unprofessional, but I think he is a few steps ahead
Okay.
of getting the platform and how people feel about it.
But would you say he's the Stad guy of LinkedIn, or
No,
maybe
more sarcasm guy of LinkedIn.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
My goodness. Wow. I'll have to check him out. But Svenja, thank you so much for your time and for the few nuggets of wisdom that you gave.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Ellie.
Yeah, for me.
I hope that you enjoyed this podcast episode and that you have found a soulful connection to the conversation. God bless you, and until the next episode, go bless somebody else.